Okay. Since everybody likes to blow a lot of smoke out of their backside about lens sharpness, let's talk about actually where it actually matters. Wildlife sports, same thing. You can't get close to the action. You use as big a lens as possible, and then you crop the hell out of your shot. This is also a reason why, at least, well, they still do. People are using, like the best National Geographic photographers on Earth, with a $13,000 lens are using a cheap Nikon D7200 camera. Why? Because there's more information per square millimeter of sensor than most full-frame cameras. It is the case now that we actually have FX cameras with DX pixel pitches like the Nikon D850. Why didn't you have them before? Because, as you might well know, to rip off a huge buffer of a lot of shots, where the compressed RAW files, by the way, are 51 megabytes, which is the exact same size out of my medium format GFX, required a lot of fast processing power. So where is lens sharpness or image resolution important? There's really only three areas. Sports wildlife, which are really the same type of photography. You can't get right up on it. You use as big a lens as possible, and then you usually crop the hell out of your shot because you couldn't get any closer. Sidelines of the Olympics, the Olympic photographers, 300, 400, 500 millimeter lenses, they can't get that damn close. They got to stand on the sidelines, they crop the shot, they do the best they can. Okay, there's one thing. That's where not only tight pixel pitch is important, but also resolution from your lens. So we're talking about sharp lenses here. Two other areas where resolution really matters. Macro photography, where a lot of cropping is done, and resolution is very important, especially when it comes to macro product photography, where someone usually, well, in the case of professional macro product photography, 99 times out of 100, someone photoshops the piss out of it, and high resolution is very important. Another one, which none of you I'm sure are people that do reproduction work. There's reproduction lenses like the 60mm 2.8, which is also a macro lens, but really it's a reproduction lens. It's the same sort of lens used for food photography. This is where high resolution is critical, because you're taking pictures of like $1,000,000 oil paintings, and everything is perfectly flat. The focal plane is flat, and everything has been measured with a bubble level relative to the painting, as someone is going to make a book of like fine art prints. And that's where reproduction work and high resolution lenses, or really sharp lenses, are important. So those are the three areas, and only those three. You could include photojournalism in, but not really. That's not the case. Photojournalism has to be accepted. Because you talk about going to print, high resolution is not that important. I mean, you could even crop the hell out of a 12 megapixel shot off a Nikon D700 for photojournalism work, and it's still perfectly fine 99% of the time. So you have sports action wildlife, or sports/wildlife, macro work, and reproduction work. Those are really the only three places where really sharp lenses are important. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. I love it when like the 50 megapixel Canon came out and people were taking portrait shots with some of the earlier digital medium format, and they blow the hell out of the shot, where you take like this drop dead hot gorgeous model and they blow the hell out of it. You got so many megapixels and high resolution, and you're like, look, you can even see the veins underneath the second layer of her dermis on her nose, and like the fact that she didn't pop that microscopic zit. You're like, as for sharpness, is nobody wants to see that. That's the stuff you don't want to see. There's a joke back in photography days where you get like an ugly person, and you do a portraiture of an ugly person before Photoshop obviously exists. Film photography is like, well, how do you do Photoshop with a lens when you got an ugly person? It's like, yeah. You smear a little. You take actually Vaseline, just a quarter of a drop, smear it on your finger, then you'd wipe the front filter. You give them that soft halo effect. It's the same, and this sounds horrible. It's the same thing Penthouse. No, I never bought Penthouse magazine. The same reason Penthouse magazine. There's a famous photographer for Penthouse. People didn't want to see all those dirty details of like totally naked people. You smear a little Vaseline on the lens because, no matter how beautiful a person is, you really, really, really don't want to see all that dirty nastiness. Just like you want a hint of it. Kind of like you're looking through a fogged window and going, oh my God. But even the most beautiful person in the world, like dead naked. It's like, I don't want to see that. Yeah, that's the true story, by the way. Look it up if you don't believe me. So that's where sharpness is important. Really, only those 3 categories: sports, wildlife, macro, and reproduction. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. All that crap. If you like these videos, click the link below. Tell me to piss off, jump off a cliff, sandpaper my crotch with 100 grit. Whatever turns you on. Bye.